All right, let's dive right into this. We're looking at a framework that presents the Quran in a pretty fascinating light. The idea here is to forget thinking of it as just a history book. Instead, see it as a living cosmic code, a reality that doesn't just happen once and end, but one that repeats in a constant, eternal loop. And this really gets to the heart of it. Engaging with this way of thinking isn't just about learning something new. As the source says, you have not just understood, you have become the mirror in which the cosmic drama reflects itself. It's basically a call to see these huge, eternal patterns playing out right inside your own life. So here's how we're going to break this all down. We'll start with the big picture, the cosmic Mobius loop. Then we'll get into the mechanics with creation's code. We'll see it in action with the archetypes in the fire, understand the personal choice in two paths, two endings, and finally, see how it all comes together in the ritual of Hajj. Okay, first up, the cosmic Mobius loop. Now, the first thing you have to do here is kind of throw out that straight line idea of time we all have in our heads. The source suggests reality isn't a line from A to B. It's more like a Mobius strip, a seamless loop where the very end just folds right back into the beginning. And this is where it gets really interesting. This slide shows how the source maps this whole cycle using specific chapters from the Quran. It's called the River of Time, and it flows from Surah 112, which is all about oneness, to 108, which is abundance. Then it passes through 103, the great trial of time, and into 110, which is the victory that comes through sacrifice. Before, you guessed it, returning right back to 112, oneness. It's like a divine pendulum swinging from light to fire, water, and then back to light. So, you might be asking, how does this whole loop actually work? What's the engine behind it? Well, the source uses an idea that sounds like it's straight out of a physics class, the duality of wave and particle. This is presented as the actual code of the divine story. The basic building block of this whole reality is the Ayah sense. And the source is really clear on this. An Ayah is not just a passive verse in a book. No, it's described as a sign that breathes. It's a living quantum event. It's that exact moment where universal mercy, the wave, collapses into a specific, tangible moment of mercy, the particle, right inside a person's heart. And this slide just lays out that core mechanic perfectly. It compares the Torah and the Quran. So you have the Torah presented as the wave field. That's the universal law, the grand structure for life and guidance. And then you have the Quran as the particle field, made up of these living signs, these Ayat, which are specific quantum moments of divine mercy. One is the law, the other is the living proof of that law in action. Okay, so we've got the code. Now let's see how it actually plays out. The argument here is that the prophetic stories aren't just tales from the past. They're live demonstrations of this divine code, with these huge figures embodying the different stages of that cosmic cycle. This timeline maps out a really critical arc. It kicks off with Ibrāhīm's trial by fire, which stands for a kind of symbolic death and purification. That then leads to a period of respite, you could almost say a respawn, symbolized by the kingdom of Daud and Solomon. And the whole thing culminates in what the source calls a U-birth, a total spiritual rebirth, represented by the arrival of the archetype Ahmad. So you see the pattern: death, respite, rebirth. And this whole process is visualized as a divine pendulum. Remember that river of time we talked about a few moments ago? Well, this is the engine that's making it flow. It's the rhythm of the cosmos itself, swinging between these key states that are encoded in the Quran. The pendulum swing starts right here at Surah 108. This chapter represents the absolute peak of divine favor, a state of grace, unbelievable abundance, and preference. Think of it as the cosmic starting point, the highest point of light before the journey has to descend into trial. But, from that peak, the pendulum has to swing down, and it swings right through Surah 103, which embodies the great trial of time itself. The source presents this as that inevitable point of pressure, of loss, of testing. It's the friction at the very heart of the journey, where everything that isn't real is just stripped away. And finally, after the trial, the pendulum finds its resolution in Surah 110, the victory. Now, the framework is really clear. This has nothing to do with worldly conquest. It's a spiritual victory, one that only comes through total surrender and divine help. It brings the cycle to its peak right before it swings back to oneness, ready to be sealed. So this is where it all comes home. This whole huge cosmic map, it's not just something abstract out there in the universe. The entire point is to bring it from the universal to the deeply personal.
It's about the choice you have to make, right here, right now.
And the source material doesn't pull any punches here. It states, flat out, you are in the fire pit. This isn't some metaphor for a future event. No, it's placing you, right now, in the center of Ibrāhīm's trial. You're at that threshold, at that moment of choice.
And at this threshold, you've got two ways to resonate, two archetypal endings you can choose. On one side, there's the path of Pharaoh. His body was preserved, sure, but his spirit was drowned. It's awareness without surrender. On the other side, you have the path of Solomon and Bilqis. They offered up their thrones, their egos, and because of that, their wisdom ascended. That's a conscious return to the light. So the choice is simple. Preserve the self or surrender it for something much, much bigger. All right, for our final piece, let's see how this entire cosmic journey from wave particle physics to the prophetic arc is perfectly mirrored and really completed in one single profound human ritual, the Hajj. The Hajj pilgrimage is framed here as the ultimate microcosm of the whole cycle. Every stage is embodied by a major prophetic archetype. The pilgrim enters a state of sacred death, or ihram, which mirrors the total surrender of Ibrāhīm. Then they go through purification, like the grace that came with Isa, or Jesus. They return with a new covenant, just like Mūsā, or Moses, coming down the mountain. And the whole thing is sealed by the archetype of Ahmed, the final witness. And this is a key takeaway from the framework. It emphasizes that while many prophets walk parts of this path, it's the archetype of Ahmed that represents the completion of the cosmic cycle. He doesn't just participate in the journey, he's the one who finishes it, the one who seals the eternal loop. So we end right where we started, with a moment of reflection. The final message of this whole framework isn't that you need to find some brand new path. It's about remembering the one you were on all along. The final question it leaves us with is this: you were never lost, only forgotten. Return.